until you open your mouth and you start sharing, and they be like, wow, been there, done that. And then sometimes when you may be going through something, and it may be something little, because me and Miss Vicky have experienced it separately and together, where you going through your own tribulations, whether it be little or maybe small, but then you may run into someone, I mean literally run into someone, and you forget about feeling sorry for yourself or having a pity party because you run into somebody that you have to help and tell your story, and you forget all about that. Miss Vicky, did you want to comment on that?
Well, yeah, we've had several experiences like that, and I just want to say you never know. I can say something I've experienced on my own, where I've received a few calls from individuals that I know that are close to me, and they were contemplating suicide. And I was able to be there, to be an ear, and have patience to respond to them without haste. So it's just, something that you have to prepare yourself mentally, but it's always good to prepare yourself ahead of time, to always know that if you are an overcomer of something, believe me, somebody's going to come your way that's going to need your help or your guidance or your advice, So, that's what I have to say about that. I wanted to go into the book and talk about, reiterate what you were talking about when Mary, who is the character in the story, Mary, the politician and the social worker, because her actual occupation is a social worker, but she has shelters for women and children. And
she's advocated. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a politician, advocate on advocate level. One thing that I know that she was really passionate about what, she did. And she did put God first. She was a Christian. And she said something that I say a lot. I'll be saying God has the last say. So she said something like that. So I thought that was funny because he does have the last say. But I like the fact of how she used her own testimony when she needed to.
Yeah.
So I know for me, I have the desire to establish things in the community because I want to give back as well. And I want to put my hands in it, but I know I can't do it all the time. But I do want to put my hands in it every now and then, whatever it may be. And so for her, that's what I see she was able to do. So she established these shelters, set them up, got people working in there, helping the people according to her policies and procedures of how she wanted ran. But in certain situations, she see that she need to put her hands in it because it was a job that she felt that God wanted her to do. Like she needed to help those people because she can see herself in them. And then I like how she went through the process of helping them. Like she had a moment of reflection. The author took the time out to explain how she had a moment of reflection. She didn't just run in there half-cocked. You know what I mean? I know all the answers. Like she actually sat there and thought about it, and she reflected on her own life and the experiences she had, even the dark part of it. And then she also reflected on how she came out of it, and what brought her out of it. And so she took all those things into account before she even talked to those special women that she had these moments with, which the writer, Karen Kingsbury, highlighted this one lady, and saying how Mary, the social worker, the one that's over the shelter, took the time out to really build a rapport with this lady. You know what I'm saying? But before she did it, she assessed herself. She dug deep in herself because I know that even in the life of human services with shelters and things like that, people sometimes get overwhelmed with that type of work because it takes work to do that, to deal with broken people. And then you got your own issues. That's why self-care is so important. But I'm saying that, you know, getting back to Mary is so the character, how Karen Kingsbury, you know, described her. It was so powerful how she actually took those steps, and we could do the same thing. And how those things, I can actually testify that stuff really works when you tell your testimony and you take your time with it and you analyze, because she even picked up the file of the lady and read through it. In human services, people that work in that area, that's the kind of stuff you have to do. You're supposed to read over the file and get to know the person, read their history and all these things that they expose to you on paper, because they ain't going to tell you everything on paper. But you get like as much as you can out of it, and you kind of strategize on how you're going to deal with this individual. Because basically, Mary took on the role of a counselor, you know, with this woman. But before she took on that role, she did her background research. And Karen Kingsbury didn't really necessarily tell us how long it took her to do it, but it's just I know that she did that by how she described it. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, she's experienced. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit more because as we're sharing this book, so we want our listeners to know that we'll be majority of our shows from now till when we finish, and we may continue to, you know, talk about other things, but the main point will be this book. We're still dealing with social issues, and so this is a social issue we'll be talking about, but we'll also be bringing in real life things that are happening to contribute to what we're talking about in the book. So I just want to say that, give an example. Another example of real life. What's her name? Angelina Jolie used to be married to Brad Pitt. This week, she wouldn't testify in front of the senators and sibling people, the House of Representatives, about Violence Against Women Act, which helps to provide services, programs and money for services for women that go through abuse. So Angelina Jolie just did that this week. And another example is when I was sharing about how I went and spoke on Tuesday, when you're telling your story. So in my speech, I was able to talk about how the Black Panthers came together with disability advocates and helped bring about this 504 law that we now have to provide services and programs for students in school, and how it related to me and how I was bullied in school. And I talked about it in my speech, and I made it into a poem. But my point is, even though I got up there and spoke, one of the board members, they gave comments to each speaker. And one of the board members was African-American like I am, and he commented on my speech, and he was like, Dika, he had never met me before. He was like, Dika, your spirit, I don't even know what to say. I'm just telling you, you just have this spirit. And he was like, I want your speech. Before you leave here, I want you to give me a copy of your speech. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not telling you the story to brag. I'm telling you the story that I was able to touch him, impact him, and I gave him an autographed copy of my speech. So I'm just giving you an example back to Mary Magdalene. When she was standing before the people, when she was advocating for funding for her shelter, she was able to touch people. And most of the time when you're advocating, when you're able to touch people, not just talk to be talking, really touch them, they'd be willing to give to a cause. They'll be willing to help you provide when you're able to really touch them through a story. That's how powerful your story can be to other people. I just want to bring that up. So where are we at on time? What'd you say?
Well, I said that's what's up, DJ Dika.
Yeah, that's what's up. So on that note, it is 7:55. We will be. Go ahead. Yep.
I just wanted to elaborate on the fact of how we're going to be sharing different authors' materials.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, listeners, I just wanted you to know that Karen Kingsbury or Divine is not going to be the last book we're going to share with you. This is just the first book. We desire to explore different subject matters that they have these awesome, wonderful authors out here sharing. There's a saying where they say if you want to hide something from colored folks, just put it in a book. And so it's kind of true a little bit, but at the same time, I know there are some readers out there, but for those that don't read, we got you. Follow us on Tunnel Vision. We got you. And hopefully we'll encourage you to start reading. And then, they have the Audible books. You can do Audible if you don't want to. Some people may have a learning disability. You never know. Whatever the case may be, or the time, the interest, you can put that sucker on while you're driving in the car. You can do it while you're cleaning up, different things. So hopefully we'll encourage you in that way. But I just want you to know that our subject matter is not going to just be domestic violence. We want to go across all kind of areas, finances.
Amen. Amen.
And they talk about deal with social issues. Fathers, men being fathers, single parenting, co-parenting, politics maybe, if it's something that's interesting, something that's going to empower the people. We have disabled advocates. There's all kind of things. And then we can talk about issues and we can talk about empowering things,
Amen.
Whatever amen. Be. We aim to empower, bring awareness and education to our community.
Hey, I like that. There we go.
Issues. So that's what we aim to do, and that's what we plan to do and hope to do through talking about different authors' works. So just want to give you that little spin.
And just another empowerment quote before we leave. We'd like to empower you. Just be another way for me to be transparent. Vicki mentioned learning disabilities, so I just want to let you know, listeners out there, if you have children that have difficulties with reading and they may have a learning disability, or you may have a learning disability, I have a learning disability. And God has blessed me to go through some trials and tribulations and be successful. So don't let any disability or anything you may went through life, abuse, disability, or anything else define who you are, because you can be successful with God's help. And Audible is a gift due to my dyslexia. So I just want to put that out there. Get Audible. And now we got to have our music time. And
it's a blessing for me. It's a blessing for me with my laziness of reading. But go ahead, because we got that much time.
Okay, well, let me first time. Oh, yes, and I looked at the calendar. Next week, next Sunday, is my birthday weekend. I didn't realize that. So, hey, all righty then. October 4th, Monday. All righty then. So we'll see you next week celebrating the birthday.
See y'all next week. It's birthday season for us. Be blessed. Be safe.
Be blessed. Here we go.
Prevention and invention. Not war.
It was war about a week ago. They shot my man, I was with him about a week ago. In my city, round the city, we should stop that. Keep losing, trying to win with the get back. Don't you see where that gets us? Who's cooler? There's a body, there's a shooter. There's a man without a future, now his homies out to get ya. And the cycle just continues if we only just remember that we stronger together. We was made here to give, we was made here to love, we was made here to live. Yeah, we stronger together. We was made here to give, we was made here to love, we was made here to live. Now get your money, get success, and live a good life. Need to put the guns down and get your mind right.